Hello there. My name is Nicole Johnson, and my topic is on exposure timers. First things first, let's talk about what an X-ray is, so hopefully everything else will make more sense. Basically, X-rays are waves of energy. They pass through the person or a person's body part that needs to be X-rayed, and that body part absorbs some of the X-rays, and some of the X-rays just pass right through it. It all depends on how dense that part is. Here's a simple visual that I made. These right here, these glowing little orbs, let's pretend those are your X-rays. Here's your patient. And as the x-rays pass through that patient, it'll hit the image receptor or the board that's behind her. And this is what shows up on the computer. So our body is made up of a bunch of different parts with different densities. Like our bone is pretty dense, our muscles aren't as dense as bone, and then the air in our lungs aren't dense at all. So it takes a different amount of x-rays to pass through these different density of body parts. It takes a lot more x-rays to penetrate through bone than it does muscle, and it takes a lot less x-rays to pass through air and fat than it does through muscle. Mass is a term that we use that describes a technique that we use to intensify or add more x-ray beams during an x-ray exposure. So the way you have to think about it is more mass for a big body part. I don't know what you thought I was going to say, but yeah, the bigger the body, the more mass or more x-rays you need to pass through that body to actually make it to the image plate. So let's go ahead and talk about the reason why I'm talking to you in the first place. And I'm sure you forgot the title of the project, but we're talking about exposure timers. And exposure timers do exactly what it sounds like. It times the length of the exposure, or the length that the X-ray beam actually stays on. There's three types: mechanical, synchronous, and electronic. The mechanical timer is straight trash. It works like an oven timer, looks like an oven timer. Uh, no one uses it anymore. They're cheap, they're inaccurate, kind of like an ex-boyfriend I had. Uh, Anyways, the second worst timer is the synchronous timer. These are very inefficient, and it has to be reset every time you take an x-ray. It's so inconvenient. And then last but not least, the electronic timer. Most efficient, most sophisticated, most accurate, most reliable, most used. All right, I'm done. That's enough. Anyways, it's the best one. And an example of an electronic timer is the AEC, or automatic exposure control. Again, does what it sounds like. It automatically shuts off the exposure once that set amount of x-rays is reached on the image plate. Probably doesn't make sense yet. Let me go to the next slide. Okay, automatic exposure control. Here's an image receptor, an image plate. We call it a wall bucky. There are three cells or chambers on the wall bucky, which are the three rectangles in the center that you see there. Those have a preset capacity. So if a larger patient comes in and you put them in front of this wall bucky and you want to take an x-ray of their abdomen or stomach, and they have a big stomach and a lot of tissue to get through, then you're going to need to choose the big body setting so that these cells can up the amount of x-rays that are needed to achieve a clear image. So once the x-rays pass through the body, these cells will start to fill up with charge from the radiation that's being received. And once they've filled up to the preset amount, it'll tell the computer to stop the exposure or cut off the X-ray beam, and it'll automatically shut off. Me and my kids came up with a visual at home so that we can make more sense of it all.
Remember the wall Bucky or image receptor I was talking about? This is one of them from my clinic. We use 3 cups to represent the different cells on that wall Bucky. We used water to represent the x rays charging up those cells. And once the cells fill up all of the way, I yelled at my other daughter to turn off that exposure or the water.
To sum up, X-rays pass through mass and they cast shadows onto the image plate, which show up as images of insides, bones, soft tissue, inner organs, all that. The dense parts absorb more X-rays than less dense parts. Once the cells on the image receptor reach capacity, it automatically shuts off those X-rays. And you're pretty smart, so I know you totally understood this. Thanks for your time.